I was standing at my father's funeral when a woman I'd never seen walked in with 3 teenagers. She approached the casket, sobbing, and whispered, "I loved you for 23 years." My mom turned to me and asked, "Who is that?" My name is Trevor Walsh. I'm 25 years old, and 3 months ago, my father died of a heart attack at 52. At his funeral, I discovered he'd been living a double life for over 2 decades. He had another partner, another home, and 3 more children I never knew existed. For 23 years, he split his time between 2 families, telling each of us that his absences were for work. Neither family had any idea the other existed until we all showed up to bury him. This is the story of how my family imploded, how I met siblings I didn't know I had, and how we're all trying to make sense of a man who loved us all but lied to everyone. Hit that like button, subscribe to Reddit Family Fallout, and turn on notifications. You won't believe how deep this goes. Let's begin.
I grew up in Seattle, Washington, the middle child of 3. My older sister Megan was 27, I was 25, and my younger brother Chase was 21. Our dad, Michael Walsh, worked in pharmaceutical sales, or so we thought. He traveled constantly, gone 3 or 4 days a week, sometimes longer. Mom, Patricia, never questioned it. Dad made good money, provided well for us, and when he was home, he was present. He coached Chase's soccer team, attended Megan's college graduation, helped me move into my first apartment. He wasn't perfect, but he was our dad. When I got the call that Dad had collapsed at a hotel in Portland and died before the paramedics arrived, I was devastated. Heart attack. No warning. He was only 52. The funeral was scheduled for the following Saturday. Mom handled the arrangements, picking out his casket, selecting photos for the memorial slideshow, writing his obituary. We were all in shock, moving through the motions of grief. The funeral home was packed. Dad had a lot of friends, colleagues from work, extended family. Megan, Chase, and I stood by the casket, greeting people, accepting condolences. Mom was barely holding it together. About 20 minutes into the viewing, the funeral home doors opened and a woman walked in with 3 young people, 2 girls and a boy. The woman was maybe mid-40s, attractive, with dark hair. She looked devastated. She walked straight to the casket, fell to her knees and started sobbing. "Michael, oh God, Michael." Everyone in the room went quiet. Mom stepped forward. "Excuse me, who are you?" The woman looked up, mascara running down her face. "I'm Jennifer Morrison. Michael was my partner." "Your partner?" Mom's voice was ice. "We've been together for 23 years. These are our children, Kayla, Ethan, and Bree." The room erupted. People started whispering. Mom's face went from pale to red. "That's impossible. Michael is my husband. We've been married for 30 years. Jennifer stared at Mom, confusion turning to horror. "Married? But he said he traveled for work." "He said the same thing to me," Mom whispered. That's when I understood. My father had been living a double life, complete with 2 families, 2 sets of children, 2 homes, 2 complete separate existences. Jennifer's kids, my half-siblings, stood frozen near the entrance. Kayla looked about 24, Ethan maybe 22, and Bree around 19. They were staring at me, Megan, and Chase with the same shock we were feeling. "Oh my God," Megan breathed next to me. "Dad had another family." The funeral director rushed over, trying to calm everyone down, but it was chaos. Mom was screaming at Jennifer. Jennifer was crying, saying she had no idea we existed. Relatives were taking sides without even knowing what was happening. I walked over to the 3 kids standing awkwardly by the door. "I'm Trevor. I guess I'm your half-brother." Kayla looked at me, her eyes red. "This can't be real. Our dad wouldn't—" Apparently he did. We stood there, 4 people who shared a father, who'd never met, who'd never even known the other existed. In the background, our mothers were still arguing, but all I could think was, how did he do this? How did one man maintain 2 complete families for 23 years without either side finding out? The funeral was postponed. We couldn't exactly continue with the service while both families were discovering their lives had been a lie. Mom left with her sisters, refusing to even look at Jennifer. Jennifer took her kids and disappeared. I stayed behind with Megan and Chase, all of us sitting in the funeral home parking lot, trying to process what had just happened. 23 years, Megan said. "He's been lying to us for 23 years. And to them," Chase added. "They didn't know about us either." "How is that even possible?" I asked. "How did he keep this hidden?" We went home and started going through Dad's things, his phone, his laptop, his paperwork, and slowly, piece by piece, we uncovered the truth. Dad had 2 phones, one for each family, 2 email accounts, 2 sets of social media profiles under slightly different names. He had a house in Portland that he'd bought 20 years ago, paid for with money he'd been siphoning from his sales commissions. He told us he was traveling for work. He told Jennifer's Ethan family the same thing about coming to Seattle. He created separate bank accounts, separate credit cards, even separate insurance policies. Every business trip to Portland was actually time with Jennifer and her kids. Every Seattle conference was time with us. Looking at his calendar, we realized his entire life was scheduled down to the hour. Week 1, Seattle, Sunday through Wednesday. Portland, Thursday through Saturday. Week 2, Portland, Sunday through Wednesday. Seattle, Thursday through Saturday. He'd been doing this for over 2 decades. "This is insane," Megan said, staring at Dad's phone. He had reminders for both families' birthdays, both families' school events. He never mixed them up. Because if he did, both families would have found out. Jace was looking at photos on Dad's laptop. "Guys, look at this." He turned the screen toward us. It was a photo of Jennifer's family, all 5 of them, at what looked like a beach vacation. Jennifer, Kayla, Ethan, and Bree, and Dad. They looked happy, like a normal family, just like we did in our family photos. He had 2 entire lives, and we were just one of them.
The funeral was rescheduled for the following week. By then, the news had spread through our entire extended family. Everyone had opinions. Grandma Walsh called Mom crying, saying she'd never known. Dad's brother, our Uncle Tom, was furious, calling Dad a liar and a cheat. Mom's sisters were rallying around her, telling her to exclude Jennifer's family from any inheritance, any decisions, everything. But legally, it was complicated. Dad's will was straightforward. Everything split between his wife and children. But which wife? He'd never actually married Jennifer. Couldn't, since he was already married to Mom. But he'd presented himself as committed to her, bought a house with her, raised kids with her. Mom hired a lawyer. Jennifer hired a lawyer. And Megan, Chase, and I were caught in the middle, trying to figure out what we even felt about any of this. 3 days before the rescheduled funeral, I got a Facebook message from Kayla, my half-sister. "I know this is weird, but can we talk? Just you and me? I have so many questions, and I don't know who else to ask." We agreed to meet at a coffee shop halfway between Seattle and Portland. I told Megan and Chase, and they wanted to come, but I thought it would be better one-on-one first. Kayla showed up wearing jeans and a hoodie, looking as exhausted as I felt. We sat down with our coffees, neither of us knowing where to start. "So," she finally said, "we have the same dad." Yeah. I've been going through everything, trying to understand how he did this, how he kept it secret for so long. Same. Me, Megan, and Chase have been looking through his stuff. It's like he had a whole system. 2 phones? 2 phones, 2 emails, 2 everything. You guys too? She nodded. Ethan found his Portland phone in his car. It had all your family's information in it. Your birthdays, your addresses, photos of you guys. It was surreal seeing pictures of these strangers and realizing that's my half-brother. "What did your mom say, Jennifer?" Kayla's face darkened. She's a mess. She thought they were going to get married once his work settled down. He'd been saying that for years. She had no idea he was already married. None of us did. My mom's the same, devastated. She thought Dad was just a workaholic who traveled a lot for his job. How often was he with you guys? 3, 4 days a week, usually. Sometimes a whole week if he said he had a big conference. You? About the same. He'd come home to Portland for 3 or 4 days, then leave for work. We thought it was normal because he'd always been like that, since before I was born. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Kayla asked the question I'd been afraid to voice. "Do you think he loved us? Any of us? Or were we all just, I don't know, part of his lie?" "I don't know," I admitted. "When he was with us, he seemed like a real dad, present, caring, involved. But knowing he was doing the exact same thing with your family makes it feel fake." "Yeah." Kayla pulled out her phone. "I want to show you something, but it's gonna be weird." She scrolled through her photos and showed me a picture. It was her family at someone's graduation. Looked like maybe Ethan's high school graduation. They were all dressed up, smiling. Dad had his arm around Kayla. "Now look at this," I said, pulling out my phone. I showed her a photo from Chase's high school graduation. Same setup, our family all dressed up, Dad with his arm around me. The photos were taken 3 weeks apart. "Jesus," Kayla breathed. "He was living parallel lives, like exactly parallel. Did you do anything special with your family? Traditions, inside jokes, anything that felt unique?" "Sunday morning pancakes. Every Sunday he was home, he'd make this huge pancake breakfast. Said it was his favorite tradition." My stomach dropped. "We did that too. Sunday pancakes were our thing. Kayla looked like she might cry. So nothing was special. Everything he did with us, he did with you. I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't do anything wrong. None of us did. Dad did this. Kayla smiled sadly. I'm glad we talked. I was worried you'd hate us. I thought the same thing about you. We're victims in this too. Yeah, we are. When I got home, I told Megan and Chase about the meeting. Megan wanted to meet Kayla too. Chase was still processing, not ready yet. What are they like? Megan asked. Like us. Normal people who loved Dad and thought they knew him. They're just as confused and hurt as we are. Did Kayla say if they're coming to the funeral? She wants to, but she's worried Mom will cause a scene. Mom probably will, Chase said. She's barely holding it together. They deserve to say goodbye to their dad, I argued, just like we do. I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying it's going to be a disaster. Chase was right, but there was no way around it. Both families needed closure, even if that meant facing each other at the worst possible moment.
The second funeral was tense from the moment Jennifer's family walked in. Mom had explicitly told the funeral director that the other woman wasn't welcome, but legally there was nothing she could do to stop them. Jennifer arrived with Kayla, Ethan, and Bree. They sat in the back, trying to be inconspicuous. Mom sat in the front row with me, Megan, and Chase, surrounded by her sisters who kept shooting daggers at Jennifer. The service was awkward. The pastor, who'd known Dad for years, had no idea about the double life and gave a generic eulogy about Dad being a devoted family man. Every word felt like a lie. When it came time for family to speak, Megan went first. She talked about Dad coaching her softball team, helping her with college applications, walking her down the aisle at her wedding 2 years ago. Her voice broke multiple times. Then, unexpectedly, Kayla stood up. The room went silent. Mom tensed beside me. Kayla walked to the front, her hands shaking. I know I'm not supposed to be here. I know this is complicated, but Michael Walsh was my father too, and I need to say goodbye. She talked about Dad teaching her to ride a bike, helping her through her parents' rough patches, which now made horrific sense, and being there for her college graduation. Her stories were nearly identical to Megan's, just with different details. When Kayla sat down, Mom was crying angry tears. Aunt Rebecca leaned over and whispered something harsh, but I couldn't hear it. After the service, at the cemetery, both families kept their distance, but I noticed Ethan watching Chase, probably seeing the resemblance. We had the same eyes, the same jawline. We were brothers, whether we wanted to be or not. At the reception afterward, held at Mom's house, which meant Jennifer's family wasn't invited, the real fighting began. I don't want to hear their names, Mom said, when Megan mentioned that Kayla had asked to exchange phone numbers. Those people are not part of this family. Mom, there are siblings, I said. Half-siblings, and they're a reminder of your father's betrayal. I don't want anything to do with them. They didn't do anything wrong. Their mother seduced a married man. Jennifer didn't know Dad was married. She thought he was single, working a traveling job. She should have asked more questions. Uncle Tom interjected. Patricia, we need to talk about the practical stuff. Michael's estate, the house in Portland, his assets. This is going to get messy. I'm his wife. Everything goes to me and our children. Legally, yes, but morally, those kids in Portland lost their father too, and that house he bought, he might have put Jennifer's name on it. Mom's face went pale. He wouldn't. But he had. We found out the next day when Dad's lawyer called. The Portland house was in both Dad's and Jennifer's names. They'd bought it together 20 years ago. Jennifer had been making payments on it, raising their kids in it, living there with Dad whenever he was home. The Seattle house was in Mom's name only, but Dad's retirement accounts, his life insurance, his savings, all of that was in a trust that named his children as beneficiaries, all 6 of us. Mom was furious. He's still finding ways to betray me even from the grave. The lawyer explained that everything would need to be divided. The life insurance payout was $500,000, split 6 ways, that was about $83,000 each. The retirement accounts totaled another $400,000. Mom would get the Seattle house outright, but would have to split the liquid assets with Jennifer's kids. This is insane, Megan said after the lawyer left. We're being forced to share Dad's money with strangers. They're not strangers, they're family, I said. Don't call them that, Mom snapped. They're the product of your father's lies. So are we, Mom. He lied to everyone. We're all victims here. Chase had been quiet through all of this. Finally, he spoke. I want to meet them, Ethan and Bree. I want to know our half-siblings. Chase, no. Mom, I'm 21 years old. I can make my own decisions, and I want to understand what Dad did from their perspective. Fine, Mom said coldly. Get close to the people who destroyed our family. See if I care. She left the room. Megan followed her, always the peacekeeper. Chase and I sat in the living room, exhausted. You really want to meet them? I asked. Don't you? They're our brothers and sisters. We share DNA. Dad kept us apart our whole lives. Maybe it's time we fix that. Mom's gonna hate it. Mom hates everything right now. She needs time, but we don't have to put our lives on hold because Dad made terrible choices. He was right. That night, I messaged Kayla on Facebook. We arranged for all 6 of us, me, Megan, Chase, Kayla, Ethan, and Bree, to meet without the moms present, neutral territory, a restaurant in Olympia, exactly halfway between Seattle and Portland. Megan initially refused to come, but eventually agreed when Chase and I both pushed her. The meeting was surreal. 6 people who shared a father, who'd lived completely separate lives, sitting around a table trying to figure out who we were to each other. Kayla looked around the table. This is the weirdest thing I've ever done. Same, said Megan, but I guess we're doing it. Ethan was 22, quiet, studying engineering at Portland State. He looked so much like Chase it was uncanny. Bree was 19, the youngest of all of us, still figuring out what she wanted to do with her life. We spent 3 hours comparing our childhoods. The stories were eerily similar. Dad had essentially lived the same life twice. Did he ever take you to Crystal Mountain for skiing? Ethan asked. Every winter, Chase said. How did you? He took us too. Same place. Said it was his favorite spot. More examples emerged. Same vacation destinations, just different years. Same restaurants for birthday dinners. Same advice, everything from dating to career choices. Dad was running the same playbook with both families. It's like we were all replaceable, Bree said quietly. Like he could swap us out and nothing would change. Or like he loved us all equally, Kayla offered. Maybe that's worse. He didn't pick favorites between families. He just had both. How do you do that? Megan asked. How do you maintain 2 families for 23 years and never slip up? Never call someone by the wrong name? Never mix up stories? He almost did once, Ethan said. When I was maybe 13, he called me Chase, just once. Corrected himself immediately, said he was thinking about work. I didn't question it. Chase was shocked. He called me Ethan once too. Same thing. Said he was distracted by work. I never connected it. We all fell silent, realizing how close Dad had come to exposing himself multiple times and how carefully he'd covered his tracks. Can I ask something? Bree ventured. What was your mom like, Patricia? We've only seen her angry. She's devastated, I said. Everything she thought about her marriage, her life, it's all a lie now. She thought Dad was faithful, just busy with work. Finding out he had a whole other family destroyed her. Our mom's the same, Kayla said. She thought she knew Michael. She's questioning every memory, every moment, wondering what was real. Was any of it real? Megan asked. Or were we all just props in Dad's weird double-life fantasy? None of us had an answer.
Over the next few weeks, the 6 of us started meeting regularly, against Mom's wishes, against Jennifer's initial discomfort. We needed to understand what Dad had done, and more importantly, we needed to know each other. Turns out, we actually liked each other. Kayla and Megan bonded over being the oldest siblings who'd always felt responsible for everyone else. Chase and Ethan discovered they had the same sense of humor and love for hiking. Bree was quieter, but warmed up over time, especially after I helped her with some college essay she was struggling with. We created a group chat called Dad's 6, where we shared photos, stories, and tried to piece together the full picture of Michael Walsh's double life. One night, Ethan shared a photo of a birthday card Dad had given him for his 18th birthday. The message inside was heartfelt, about being proud of the man Ethan was becoming. Chase responded with a photo of his own 18th birthday card from Dad. The message was word for word identical. He didn't even write unique cards, Chase typed. He just used the same template for both of us. Maybe he meant it both times, Kayla offered weakly. Or if he was so deep into the lie that everything became automated, Megan replied. As we dug deeper into Dad's life, the discoveries got worse. We found out he'd missed Kayla's college graduation to attend Chase's high school graduation. He'd told Jennifer's family he had an emergency work trip. He'd told our family it was a crucial company event. We found out he'd been at Ethan's soccer championship game instead of my 21st birthday party. I'd been hurt that he missed it for work. Turns out he was just at his other son's game. Every major event one family had with Dad meant another family missed him. He was always choosing, Bree said during one of our meetings. Every time he was with us, he was choosing us over you guys, and vice versa. How do you make that choice over and over for 23 years?
By being a sociopath, Megan said bitterly. Or by loving us all and not knowing how to choose, so he tried to have everything, Kayla countered. This became the central debate among us. Was Dad a master manipulator who didn't really love any of us? Or was he a man who loved two families so much he couldn't give either one up, even though maintaining both was wrong? The answer probably lay somewhere in the middle, but we couldn't agree. Meanwhile, Mom and Jennifer's relationship was toxic. They'd been forced to communicate through lawyers about the estate settlement, and every interaction was hostile. Mom found out Jennifer had been sending Dad care packages when he was traveling for work in Seattle, meaning he'd been receiving gifts from his Portland family while living with us. She was furious. Jennifer found out Dad had put Mom's name as his emergency contact for everything, essentially erasing Jennifer's existence from all official documents. She felt betrayed all over again. The lawyer suggested mediation. Both women refused. Then something unexpected happened. I got a call from Jennifer directly. "Trevor, I know this is awkward, but can we talk? Just you and me?" We met at the same coffee shop where I'd met Kayla. Jennifer looked tired, older than she had at the funeral. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. "I know your mother would be furious if she knew." "Yeah, probably. What's this about?" "I need to understand him. Michael, your father. She struggled with what to call him. "I've been going through everything, trying to make sense of it, and I think I found something." She pulled out a stack of letters, old, yellowed envelopes addressed to Michael Walsh at a P.O. box I'd never heard of. "I found these in a storage unit he rented. I didn't even know he had a storage unit. These letters are from someone named Catherine. They're dated from the early 2000s. "Who's Catherine?" "I don't know, but from reading these letters, it sounds like she might have been another woman he was involved with before Jennifer and I." My blood ran cold. "You think Dad had a third relationship?" "I don't know, maybe. Or maybe Catherine was someone from his past. But Trevor, there are things in these letters that suggest your father's double life might have been even more complicated than we thought." I read through a few of the letters. Catherine wrote about Michael visiting her, about their time together, about how she understood he had commitments, but wished they could be together full time. The letters stopped around 2005, roughly 20 years ago. "Maybe this was before you?" I suggested. "Before your mom and Jennifer?" "The letters overlapped with when he was already with your mom. They were married in 1993. These letters are from 2001 to 2005. So Dad potentially had 3 relationships going simultaneously. Mom in Seattle, Jennifer in Portland, and Catherine somewhere else." "Are you going to tell the others about this?" I asked. "Are you going to tell your kids?" "I don't know. Will it hurt or just hurt everyone more?" "I don't know either." We decided to hold off, at least until we knew more, but the discovery of Catherine's letters planted a new seed of doubt. How well did any of us actually know Michael Walsh? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Dad's face, his laugh, his advice, his presence in my life. How much of it was real? How much was performance? And the worst question of all, if he was lying about this much, what else was he lying about? I decided not to tell Mom or my siblings about Catherine's letters yet, but I couldn't let it go. I needed to know if Dad had been even worse than we thought. I hired a private investigator. Her name was Sandra Reeves, and she specialized in tracking down missing people and uncovering hidden assets. I gave her everything. The letters, the P.O. box information, Dad's old phone records I'd found. "I'll be honest," Sandra said. "If this Catherine person existed 20 years ago and your father was covering his tracks this well, it's going to be hard to find her. But I'll try." While Sandra worked, the estate settlement moved forward. The lawyers had worked out a division. Mom got the Seattle house and half of Dad's liquid assets. Jennifer got the Portland house and the other half. All 6 kids split the life insurance equally. Nobody was happy. Mom felt robbed. Jennifer felt disrespected. We kids were just exhausted. The day we all had to sign the settlement paperwork, all 6 siblings were there. Mom and Jennifer had refused to be in the same room, so they signed separately with their lawyers present. Afterward, we all went to dinner. The 6 of us had made it a tradition now, meeting every week or two. We'd gone from strangers to something like actual siblings. "So we're all officially poor now," Ethan joked. $83,000 after taxes is like, what, 60 grand? "Better than nothing," Chase said. "I'm putting mine towards student loans." "Same," Kayla agreed. "And maybe a car that doesn't break down every month." Bree was quiet. She'd been accepted to a good college, but couldn't afford it without significant loans. "I guess I'm taking a gap year. Work full-time, save up." "What if we pool some of our money?" I suggested. "Help Bree with school." Everyone looked at me. "I'm serious. Dad screwed us all over, but we're family now. Real family. Not the fake version Dad created. We could actually be there for each other." Megan frowned. Mom would lose it if she found out I was giving my inheritance money to Jennifer's kid. Since when do we let Mom dictate our choices? I counted. We're adults. Eventually, after much debate, we all agreed to contribute $5,000 each to help Bree with her first year of college. It wasn't much, but it would make a difference. Bree cried. I don't deserve this. I barely know you guys. That's not your fault, Kayla said. That's Dad's fault. We're fixing what he broke. It was the first time any of us had done something concrete to build a real sibling relationship, rather than just grieving the fake one Dad had constructed. But not everything was healing. Chase had started acting weird, distant, and irritable. When I asked him about it, he brushed me off. Then one night, he showed up at my apartment at 11 p.m., drunk and crying. I can't stop thinking about it, he sobbed. How Dad would look me in the eye and lie. He'd tuck me in at night, tell me he loved me, then leave the next morning to go be someone else's dad. Chase, you're drunk. Every memory I have of him is contaminated now. Every birthday, every camping trip, every father-son talk. Was he thinking about Ethan? About Kayla and Bree? Was I just an interchangeable kid to him? I didn't have answers. I'd been asking myself the same questions. Chase spent the night on my couch. The next morning, hungover and miserable, he admitted he'd been struggling more than he'd let on. I can't talk to Mom about it because she just wants to villainize Dad. I can't talk to Megan because she's in denial. And talking to Ethan and the others feels weird because they're going through the same thing. Have you thought about therapy? With what money? The inheritance is going to student loans, remember? Chase, if you're struggling this much, we'll figure out the money. You can't fall apart. But he wasn't the only one struggling. Over the next few weeks, cracks started showing in everyone. Megan's marriage was suffering. Her husband Mark felt like she was obsessed with the dad situation and neglecting their relationship. They were fighting constantly. Kayla had started having panic attacks, unable to trust anyone after discovering her entire childhood was built on lies. Bree withdrew from friends and family, spending all her time alone. Even Ethan, who'd seemed the most stable, admitted he'd been having nightmares about Dad living yet another secret life we still hadn't discovered. It's like we're all traumatized, Kayla said during one of our group meetings. And there's no villain to be angry at, because he's dead. We can't confront him, can't get answers, can't get closure. Maybe that's the real betrayal, Megan said. He died before we could hold him accountable. Then Sandra, the private investigator, called me. I found Catherine. My heart stopped. You did? Catherine Novak. She's 58 now, lives in Boise, Idaho. And Trevor, you need to sit down for this. What is it? Catherine has a daughter. Her name is Olivia. She's 24 years old, and based on the timeline and some photos I found on Catherine's social media, I think Michael Walsh might be her father, too. The room spun. A seventh child. Another half-sibling we didn't know about. Are you sure? I'm not certain without a DNA test, but the timing lines up, and Catherine was involved with your father from about 2000 to 2005. Olivia was born in 2001, and there are some photos of Olivia as a teenager that show a striking resemblance to your family. Oh my God. There's more. I dug into Catherine's background. She was never married, listed father as unknown on her Olivia's birth certificate, but she received regular cash deposits from an account connected to your father until Olivia turned 18. He was paying child support. Quietly, under the table. No official record, no legal arrangement, just monthly cash deposits to Catherine's account. Does Catherine know he died? I don't know, but if you want answers, you're going to have to contact her. I hung up and immediately called an emergency meeting of all 6 siblings. When I told them about Olivia, there was stunned silence. A 7th kid? We don't know for sure without DNA, but the evidence is pretty strong. So Dad wasn't just living a double life, he was living a triple life. 3 women, 7 kids, all at the same time. Jesus Christ, Megan breathed. How deep does this go? We have to contact Catherine, Kayla said. We have to know. What if there are more? Bree asked quietly. What if Olivia isn't the only one? What if Dad has kids all over the country we don't know about? The thought had occurred to us all, but nobody wanted to say it out loud. Now it hung in the air, terrifying and possible. One step at a time, I said. First, we contact Catherine and Olivia, find out if she's our sister, then we go from there. Are we going to tell Mom and Jennifer? Kayla asked. Not yet. Let's confirm it first. We debated who should make contact. Eventually, we decided it should be me and Kayla together, representing both families. I sent Catherine a Facebook message. Mrs. Novak, my name is Trevor Walsh. I'm the son of Michael Walsh, who passed away 3 months ago. I've recently discovered some letters you sent him years ago. I'd like to talk to you about your relationship with my father and your daughter, Olivia. Please let me know if you're willing to speak. I hit send, and we all waited. 3 days later, Catherine responded. I was wondering if anyone from Michael's family would eventually track me down. Yes, Olivia is Michael's daughter. And yes, we should talk. But be prepared. The truth is worse than you think.
We arranged to meet Catherine and Olivia in Portland, neutral territory for everyone. Catherine agreed to come, though she made it clear this would be difficult for her daughter. Olivia knows Michael was her father, but she's never met any of you, Catherine explained over the phone. This is going to be overwhelming for her. It's overwhelming for all of us, I replied. The meeting was set for a Saturday at a hotel conference room we rented for privacy. All 6 of us showed up early, nervous. When Catherine and Olivia walked in, the resemblance was unmistakable. Olivia had Dad's eyes, his nose, the same slight build that Chase and Ethan had. She was 24, with long brown hair and an anxious expression. Catherine was composed but guarded. Thank you for reaching out. I know this must be confusing for all of you. Confusing is an understatement, Megan said. We just found out Dad had 2 families. Now we're learning there might have been a third? Not exactly a third family, Catherine clarified. Michael and I were never together the way he was with your mothers. It was complicated. That seems to be his specialty, Ethan muttered. We all sat down around the conference table, 7 of Michael Walsh's children and one of the women he'd deceived. Catherine took a deep breath and began. I met Michael in 2000. I was 32, working as a pharmaceutical rep. We covered similar territories and would run into each other at conferences. He told me he was divorced, had kids in Seattle he saw part-time, said his ex-wife was difficult and they shared custody. He lied, I said. I know that now. Then, I believed him. We started seeing each other whenever we were both in the same city. It was sporadic, maybe once a month. He'd say he was traveling for work, which seemed plausible given our jobs. When did you get pregnant? Kayla asked gently. Early 2001. When I told Michael, he panicked, said he couldn't be a full-time father given his custody situation and work travel, but he promised to support us financially. He gave me $2,000 a month in cash until Olivia turned 18. Did you ever ask for more? Try to make him more involved? Bree asked. I tried once. Olivia was maybe 3. I told Michael she needed her father, that money wasn't enough. He said if I pushed, he'd disappear completely and stop the payments, so I backed off. Olivia had been silent through all this, but now she spoke. I always knew my dad was some guy who didn't want me. Mom tried to make excuses, but I could tell. He chose not to be in my life. He chose not to be fully in anyone's life, Chase said. He split himself into pieces so everyone only got part of him. Can I ask, Catherine continued, does anyone know why he did this? Did he have some psychological condition, some reason for maintaining multiple families? We all shook our heads. We'd been asking ourselves the same question for months. Maybe he was just selfish, Megan said. Maybe he wanted everything, multiple families, multiple lives, and didn't care who he hurt to get it. Or maybe he was so afraid of losing any of us that he lied to keep everyone, Kayla offered. That's not love, Olivia shared sharply. That's control. He controlled all of our mothers by lying, controlled all of us by keeping us separate. Real love doesn't require lies. She was right, of course, but it was hard to accept that the man we'd called Dad, who'd seemed so caring and present when he was with us, was actually just a master manipulator. There's something else, Catherine said hesitantly. Something I debated telling you, but you deserve to know. We all tensed. When Michael and I were still seeing each other, he'd sometimes talk in his sleep. He'd say names, Patricia, Jennifer, sometimes others I didn't recognize. Once he called me Jennifer when he woke up. He caught himself quickly, said he was thinking about work, but I knew something was off. Did you investigate? Ethan asked. Not seriously. I think part of me didn't want to know. I had Olivia to raise, and Michael's money helped. Digging into his life might have made him disappear. So you stayed quiet to protect the financial arrangement, Megan said, and there was judgment in her voice. Catherine's expression hardened. I stayed quiet to protect my daughter. Don't you dare judge me. You all had fathers growing up. Maybe liars, but at least present. Olivia had nothing but cash deposits. I did what I had to do. The room fell silent. Catherine was right. As much as we were all victims of Dad's lies, at least we had him physically present part-time. Olivia had only his money. I'm sorry, Megan said quietly. You're right, we're all victims here. We spent the next 2 hours talking. Olivia told us about growing up without a father, how kids at school would ask and she'd have to explain he wasn't around, how she'd created a fantasy version of him in her head that was probably nothing like the real Michael Walsh. When I found out he died, I felt nothing. I didn't know him. He was just a concept. But now, meeting all of you, seeing all these siblings I never knew existed, it's like losing him all over again, because now I know what I missed out on. You didn't miss out on much, Chase said bitterly. He was there physically, but emotionally unavailable. Always distracted, always about to leave for another work trip. You might have been better off without him. Don't say that, Kayla argued. At least we have memories, good memories, even if they're tainted now. Olivia doesn't even have that. Can I ask, Olivia said, looking around the table, do any of you actually love him after everything you've learned? The question hung in the air. Finally, I answered. I don't know. I love the version of him I thought I knew, but that person might not have been real, so maybe I love a ghost. Everyone nodded. That was the tragic truth. We were all mourning someone who might never have existed. Before we left, Catherine had one more bombshell. The names Michael said in his sleep, Patricia and Jennifer, I understand now, but there were two others he mentioned multiple times, Sarah and Elena. Do those names mean anything to you? We all looked at each other, blood running cold. No, I said. Who were Sarah and Elena? I don't know, but if I had to guess, more women he was involved with. Jesus Christ, Ethan breathed. How many were there? I don't know, but if you're serious about finding the truth, you might want to look into those names. After Catherine and Olivia left, the seven of us sat in stunned silence. We have to find out, Kayla said finally. We have to know how many of us there are. Maybe we don't, Megan countered. Maybe some secrets should stay buried. No, Chase said firmly. Dad kept us all separated our whole lives. If we have more siblings out there, they deserve to know about us. We deserve to know about them. We took a vote, 5-2, in favor of investigating further. That night, I called Sandra again. I need you to search for two names, Sarah and Elena, women who might have been involved with Michael Walsh between 1990 and his death in 2024. This is getting expensive, Sandra warned. I don't care. I need to know the truth. 3 weeks later, Sandra called back. I found Sarah.
Sandra sent me an address in Spokane, Washington. Sarah Winters, age 54, worked as a dental hygienist. She'd never been married, no kids listed on any public records Sandra could find. I can't confirm she was involved with your father, Sandra said, but I've found some circumstantial evidence. They were both at the same pharmaceutical conference in 2003, and there are some social media connections that suggest they knew each other. I decided to go in person. This time, I brought Ethan and Kayla with me. The three of us drove to Spokane on a Saturday, not sure what we'd find. Sarah Winters lived in a modest townhouse. When she answered the door and saw us, her face went pale. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You're Michael's kids, aren't you?" So she knew about us. That was something. "Can we come in?" I asked. She let us in, hands shaking. Her living room was neat, filled with photos of what looked like nieces and nephews, but no children of her own. "How did you find me?" "Long story. We've been tracking down everyone who was involved with our father. Your name came up." Sarah sat down heavily. I was wondering if anyone would ever figure it out. "Figure out what? Were you in a relationship with him?" "Not a relationship exactly. More like an arrangement. We'd see each other a few times a year when we were both traveling for work. It went on for maybe 5 years, from 2002 to 2007. "Did you know he was married?" Kayla asked. "Yes, he told me up front. Said his marriage was complicated, that they stayed together for the kids but weren't really in love anymore. I'm not proud of it, but I was lonely and he was charming. I convinced myself it wasn't hurting anyone." "It hurt everyone," Ethan said quietly. "I know that now. When did Michael die?" 3 months ago. Heart attack." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I hadn't seen him in years. After 2007, he just stopped calling. I assumed he'd moved on to someone else." "He did. Multiple someone else's. Sarah, we've found at least 7 of his children so far, maybe more. We're trying to understand the scope of his double or triple or quadruple life." 7 kids? My God, I knew he had family in Seattle, but I didn't know about anyone else. "Did you have any children with him?" Kayla asked gently. "No, thank God, no. I always used protection. I didn't want to complicate things further." We talked for another hour. Sarah told us about the Michael she'd known. Charming, attentive when he was present, but always ultimately unreachable. He'd never shared details about his personal life, never invited her to meet anyone he knew, never let her get too close. He was like a ghost, present when he wanted to be, gone when he didn't. I thought I was special, that our connection was unique. I was an idiot. "You weren't an idiot. You were one of many people he manipulated." Before we left, I asked about Elena, the other name Catherine had mentioned. "Elena?" Sandra frowned. "There was an Elena at one of the conferences. Elena Rodriguez, I think. She worked for a competitor pharmaceutical company. I remember thinking Michael spent a lot of time talking to her, but I don't know if they were involved." Sandra found Elena Rodriguez within a week. She lived in San Diego, worked in pharmaceutical sales just like Dad had. She was 51, divorced with 1 adult son. This time, I called instead of showing up. "Ms. Rodriguez, my name is Trevor Walsh. I'm trying to get in touch with you regarding Michael Walsh." Long silence. Then, "How did you get my number?" "Private investigator. I'm Michael's son. He died 3 months ago." Another long pause. "I'm sorry for your loss, but I don't know what you want from me. I want to know if you were involved with him, and if you have any children that might be his. This is inappropriate. I'm hanging up." "Please," I said quickly. "I'm not trying to cause problems, but my father lived multiple secret lives. We found at least 7 of his children so far, from 3 different women. If you have information, if you have a child who might be his, they deserve to know. They deserve to know they have siblings." Another long silence. Then, quietly, "His name is Daniel. He's 21. My heart sank. An 8th child. "Does Daniel know about Michael?" "No, I never told him who his father was. Michael and we were brief, less than a year. When I got pregnant, I told him. He gave me $50,000 to handle it. I kept the money and the baby. Michael wanted nothing to do with us after that." "Does Daniel know anything about his father?" "I told him his father was someone I dated briefly who left before he was born. That's all." "Elena, I have 7 half-siblings who are trying to understand our father's life. If Daniel is our brother, he deserves to know we exist. And honestly, we'd like to meet him if you're willing." "Why would you want to meet more reminders of your father's betrayal?" "Because we are not our father. We're just people trying to make sense of what he did. And maybe, together, we can build something real out of all his lies." Elena was silent for a long moment. "Let me talk to Daniel. I'll call you back." She did. 3 days later, Daniel wanted to meet. We arranged another gathering, this time in a rented space in Portland big enough for everyone. All 7 of us who'd already met, plus Daniel and Elena. Daniel Rodriguez was 21, studying computer science at UC San Diego. He looked less like Dad than the rest of us, probably taking more after Elena, but there were similarities in his mannerisms, the way he talked with his hands. "So," Daniel said after we'd all introduced ourselves, "I have 7 half-siblings I never knew about. My mom says our dad was basically a professional liar who juggled multiple families, and he's dead, so I can't even be mad at him in person. Do I have that right?" "Pretty much," Chase said. "Welcome to the nightmare." Daniel laughed despite everything. "This is insane. I always wondered who my dad was. Created all these stories in my head about why he left. Turns out he didn't leave. He just never showed up in the first place." Elena spoke up. "I need to say something to all of you. I'm sorry for my part in this. I knew Michael had a wife and family when I got involved with him. I knew it was wrong. I did it anyway. And when I got pregnant, I should have walked away completely instead of taking his money." "You were trying to survive," Kayla said. "We don't blame you, or Catherine, or Sarah, or Jennifer. You were all lied to in different ways." "Does my birth certificate list him as the father?" Daniel asked his mother. "No, I left it blank. Michael insisted on that as a condition of the money. No official connection between you." "So there's no legal proof he's my father?" "Not without a DNA test. But Daniel, you have his eyes, his smile. You are his son." Daniel looked around at all of us. "Can I ask you something? Do any of you actually have good memories of him, or was it all terrible?" We all looked at each other. Finally, Bree spoke. "I have good memories, times when he was fully present, making us laugh, teaching us things. Those memories are real even if the context was a lie." "Same," I admitted. "The memories exist, I just don't know what they mean anymore." "They mean he was capable of love," Kayla said. "He just spread it too thin across too many people. We all got fractions of a father instead of a whole one." We spent hours talking. 8 of Michael Walsh's children sitting in a room together for the first time, trying to piece together who our father really was. At one point, Megan asked the question we'd all been avoiding. "Do you think there are more? More siblings we haven't found yet?" "I've been thinking about that," I said. "Dad traveled constantly for work, or what we thought was work. He could have had relationships in dozens of cities. There could be kids all over the country who have no idea they're related to us. So what do we do? Spend the rest of our lives hunting down Dad's secret children?" "Maybe we go public," Chase suggested. "Put out a social media post. If Michael Walsh is your father, contact us. See who comes forward." "That would destroy what's left of Mom's reputation," Megan protested. "The whole world would know Dad was a serial cheater." "The world already knows," I said. "It came out at the funeral, remember? It's been all over local news. We might as well use that exposure to find any other siblings." After much debate, we decided to create a private Facebook group called Children of Michael Walsh. We posted about it on social media, explaining that we were Michael Walsh's children trying to connect with any potential half-siblings. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within a week, we had 3 more messages from 3 women claiming they'd had relationships with Dad. 2 had children, a 17-year-old girl in Texas named Sophie and a 26-year-old man in Oregon named Marcus. 10 children. Michael Walsh had 10 children with 6 different women, and based on the messages we were still receiving, there might be more. How did he do this? Olivia asked during one of our increasingly frequent group calls. How did one man maintain relationships with 6 women and keep track of 10 children? He compartmentalized, Marcus said. He joined us for the first time, still processing everything. My mom said he kept everything in his head, never wrote anything down, never left a paper trail. He just remembered everything about everyone. Or he just didn't care enough to keep us straight, Chase said bitterly. Called Ethan by my name, called me by Ethan's name. We were interchangeable to him. I don't think we were interchangeable, Kayla argued. I think he loved all of us. He just loved himself more. That became the working theory. Dad had been a narcissist who wanted the ego boost of multiple families, multiple lives, multiple identities. He'd been capable of love, but only in service of his own needs. Mom and Jennifer, meanwhile, had formed an unlikely alliance. United by their shared betrayal, they'd started talking. They still weren't friends, but they'd stopped being enemies. Your mother called me, Jennifer told us during one of our meetings, said we should work together to understand what happened, figure out what was real and what was Michael's performance. What did you figure out? I asked. That probably nothing was real. Everything he said to either of us, he said to the other. Everything he promised to everyone. He was a script running on repeat. That's depressing, Bree said. It's honest, and honesty is all we have left. As we continued investigating, we found more evidence of Dad's systematic deception. Calendar entries coded with abbreviations only he understood, multiple cloud storage accounts with photos of different families, phone records showing calls to different women on the same days. The most chilling discovery was a notebook we found in his car. Inside were names, dates, important events, birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, every significant date for every family, all in one place. He studied us, Megan said, looking at the notebook. Or like he was an actor learning his lines. The notebook confirmed what we'd suspected. Dad had 10 children total. 8 we'd already found, plus Sophie and Marcus made 10. The notebook had entries for all of us, tracking our lives, noting things we'd told him so he wouldn't forget. There was even a section labeled Safety Protocols, with rules he'd written for himself. Never answer phone in front of Family A if Family B is calling. Keep separate Google calendars, never sync. No social media friends from different families. Pay everything in cash when possible. Never use real name at hotels. He'd turned deception into a system, a methodology, and it worked for over 23 years. 6 months after Dad's death, all 10 of his children met in person for the first time. We rented a large Airbnb in Portland for the weekend. Sophie flew in from Texas with her mother. Marcus drove from Eugene. The original 7 of us were there, plus Daniel from San Diego. 10 people, ages 17 to 28, all connected by one man's lies. We spent the weekend sharing stories, looking through photos, trying to understand how we fit together as a family. It was awkward at first. Sophie was still in high school and felt out of place with all us adults. Marcus was reserved, unsure if he wanted to be part of this group. But slowly, connections formed. Chase and Marcus bonded over their shared love of hiking. Kayla and Sophie talked about dealing with absent fathers. Ethan and Daniel stayed up late discussing philosophy and the nature of family. On the last night, we sat around a fire pit in the backyard, passing around a bottle of wine, except Sophie, who got sparkling cider. "Can I ask something?" Sophie ventured. "Do you think he ever felt guilty?" "About lying to all of us?" Megan clarified. "Yeah, like did he go to bed at night and think, I'm a terrible person? Or did he just not care?" "I think he justified it," I said. Told himself he was providing for everyone, that everyone was happy, so what was the harm? "The harm was us," Olivia said quietly. "We're the harm, all of us damaged by his lies." "Are we damaged, though?" Kayla asked. "Or are we just different? I mean, yes, finding out sucked, but we found each other. That's something." "That's cope," Chase said flatly. "You're trying to find meaning in trauma." "Maybe, but the alternative is being angry forever. I don't want that."
This was the division that had formed among us. Half wanted to find redemption in the situation, to build real sibling relationships and create something positive from Dad's lies. The other half wanted to acknowledge the damage, grieve the father we'd lost, or never had, and move on separately. Neither perspective was wrong. "What about the mothers?" Bree asked. "Mom, Jennifer, has been talking about suing Dad's estate for emotional damages. Is that crazy?" "My mom mentioned the same thing," Daniel said, "but the estate is basically depleted. Between the house settlements and dividing everything up, there's nothing left to sue for." "It's not about money," Marcus said. "It's about acknowledgement, legal recognition that they were wronged." "They were wronged," Megan agreed, "but a lawsuit won't change anything. Dad's dead. You can't make a dead man accountable." "No, but you can make his memory accountable," Sophie's mother, Teresa, said from the doorway. She'd joined us for the weekend at Sophie's request. "You can tell the truth about who he was, make sure history remembers Michael Walsh as a liar and a cheat, not a devoted family man." "Is that what you want?" I asked Sophie. "I don't know. Part of me wants everyone to know what he did. Part of me just wants to forget and move on." "You can't forget," Olivia said. "Believe me, I've tried. It's always there, this knowledge that your father chose deception over honesty, chose himself over everyone else." "But we can choose differently," Kayla insisted. "We can choose to be honest with each other, to actually be the family he prevented us from being." "That's a nice idea," Chase said, "but let's be real. We're strangers who share DNA. We don't have shared childhoods, shared memories, shared anything except a biological connection. That doesn't make us family." "Then what does make us family?" Bree challenged. "Because I feel closer to you guys than I do to some of my actual cousins. We've been through something together. That counts for something." The debate continued late into the night. We couldn't agree on what we were to each other: family, support group, or just a collection of people connected by tragedy. The next morning, we all went our separate ways, but we kept the group chat active. We still checked in with each other, shared updates, offered support. We might not have been a traditional family, but we were something. Meanwhile, the legal fallout continued. Mom and Jennifer's lawyers had found evidence that Dad had taken out loans using the Seattle house as collateral, loans Jennifer knew nothing about. He'd also taken out loans using the Portland house, which Mom knew nothing about. He essentially leveraged both families' futures to fund his double life. When the debts were calculated, both houses were underwater. Mom had to sell the Seattle house at a loss. Jennifer sold the Portland house and moved into a small apartment with Bree. Kayla and Ethan were both living on their own by then. "He even ruined us financially," Mom said bitterly when I helped her pack. "It's not enough that he betrayed me emotionally. He destroyed my financial security, too." "Where will you go?" "Your Aunt Sarah offered to let me stay with her until I find something. At 58 years old, I'm starting over from scratch." "I'm sorry, Mom." "Don't be sorry, be angry. Your dad deserves anger." But I wasn't sure I had anger left. Mostly I just felt sad. Sad for Mom, for Jennifer, for all 10 of his dad's lied mothers, sad for all 10 of his children who'd never really known him, sad for Dad himself, who'd built such an elaborate prison of lies that he could never escape. A year after his death, we held a memorial service, a real one, not the disaster of the first funeral. All 10 children were there, along with the mothers who wanted to come. Jennifer, Catherine, and Teresa showed up. Sarah and Elena declined. Mom refused to be in the same place as any of Dad's other women. Each of us shared a memory. Some were good, times when Dad had been present and loving. Some were painful, realizations about lies, moments that had seemed special, but probably copied from another family. When it was my turn, I stood in front of my 9 half-siblings and said, "Our father was a liar. He was selfish, manipulative, and caused immeasurable harm to everyone who loved him. But he also gave us each other. These 9 people, my brothers and sisters, are the only good thing that came from his lies. So I choose to remember him as the man who accidentally brought us together, even if that wasn't his intention." It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't even acceptance, it was just acknowledgement that complicated people leave complicated legacies. After the service, we all went to dinner, 10 of us plus a few of the mothers who'd come. We sat around a huge table, this bizarre blended family born from deception, trying to figure out how to move forward. "I have an idea," Kayla said. "What if we all did ancestry DNA tests, confirm once and for all that we're all related, get the official genetic proof?" "Why?" Chase asked. "We already know." "Because I want something official, something that says we're family, even if Dad tried to keep us apart." We all agreed. Within a month, we'd all sent in DNA tests to 23andMe. The results came back confirming what we knew. We were all half-siblings, all sharing DNA with Michael Walsh. But there was one more surprise. My results showed I had another DNA match, a half-sibling I didn't recognize, someone who wasn't any of the 9 people I'd already found, an 11th child. Her name was Hannah, age 30, living in New York City, and according to the DNA match, she was my half-sister. I messaged her immediately. I think we have the same father, Michael Walsh. Did you know about him? Her response came within an hour. I knew of him, never met him. My mother was Veronica Shaw. He paid child support until I was 18, then disappeared. I just took this DNA test last month out of curiosity. And there are others? I sent her a link to our private Facebook group. There are 10 of us that we know of, possibly more. Welcome to the family.
Hannah's discovery opened new questions. If there were 11 of us, could there be 12, 15, 20? We created a website, childrenofmichaelwalsh.com. We posted our story, explained what we discovered, and invited anyone who thought they might be Michael Walsh's child to contact us. Within 3 months, 4 more people came forward with credible claims. DNA tests confirmed 3 of them. By the time the dust settled, we'd identified 14 children from 8 different women. 14 children, 8 mothers, 23 years of systematic deception. The media picked up the story. Man fathered 14 children with 8 women while maintaining double life. Became a national headline. News outlets wanted interviews, podcasters reached out, documentary filmmakers contacted us. Most of us declined. This wasn't entertainment, it was our life. But Kayla, always the organizer, saw an opportunity. What if we controlled the narrative, told our story on our terms? After much debate, we agreed to participate in one documentary with the condition that we approved the final cut and that all 14 siblings would be involved. The documentary, titled The Fractured Family, took a year to produce. It interviewed all 14 children, 5 of the 8 mothers, 3 declined to participate, and various experts on narcissism, deception, and the psychology of double lives. The hardest part was the interviews. Sitting in front of cameras, talking about our father's lies, admitting how much it hurt to learn that everything we'd believed about our family was false. Sophie, still just 18, broke down crying during her interview. I never even met him. He was just money that showed up every month. And now I know I have 13 siblings he kept me away from. 13 people I could have grown up knowing. He stole that from me. Marcus, typically stoic, showed rare emotion. I think about all the times my mom struggled as a single parent, all the times I needed a father and didn't have one. And it turns out he was out there, playing dad to 13 other kids. He just chose not to be mine. When the documentary premiered, it went viral, millions of views within the first week. The comment sections were brutal, people calling Dad a monster, a sociopath, the worst father in history. But there were also comments from others who'd experienced similar situations. Children of secret affairs who'd only learned the truth as adults. People with half-siblings they'd never known about. Our story wasn't unique, just more extreme than most. Mom watched the documentary at Aunt Sarah's house. She called me afterward, crying. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For not seeing it. For 30 years, I didn't see that my husband was lying constantly. What does that say about me?" "It says you trusted him. That's not your fault." "But I should have questioned more, should have wondered why he was gone so much, why his stories sometimes didn't add up, why he was so protective of his phone." "He was good at lying, Mom. He fooled 8 women and 14 children. You weren't uniquely blind. You were just one of many people he deceived." Does it ever stop hurting, this feeling that my entire marriage was a lie? I don't know. Maybe it just hurts less over time. 2 years after Dad's death, we held our first official Walsh siblings reunion. All 14 of us gathered in Seattle for a long weekend. We ranged in age from 19, Sophie, to 30, Hannah, but we'd formed genuine bonds over the past 2 years. We went hiking as a group, had a massive dinner where we could barely fit everyone around the restaurant table, and spent hours just talking. "This is what Dad never wanted," Ethan observed. "All of us together, comparing notes, seeing through his lies." "Which is why it feels so good," Kayla replied. "We're doing exactly what he tried to prevent." During that weekend, we made some decisions as a group. 1, we would continue meeting annually, no matter what. 2, we would be honest with each other, even when it was hard. No more secrets, no more lies. 3, we would support each other financially and emotionally when needed. We might not have had a father we could count on, but we'd have siblings we could. 4, we would tell our own children, when we had them, the truth about their grandfather. Not to demonize him, but to be honest about who he was and what he did.
I'm not going to lie to my kids the way Dad lied to us, Chase said. They'll know their grandfather was complicated, deeply flawed, but also the reason they have 13 aunts and uncles. 14, Hannah corrected. 14 aunts and uncles. Don't forget yourself. We laughed. It was the first time any of us had laughed about the situation without it feeling bitter. That night, we built a bonfire and burned copies of Dad's notebook, the one where he'd tracked all of us like a project manager tracking deliverables. We'd made copies for legal purposes, but the original felt like it needed to be destroyed. As the pages caught fire, Bree said, "I've been thinking about forgiveness, whether we should forgive him." "I can't," Marcus said immediately. "He doesn't deserve forgiveness." Maybe forgiveness isn't about what he deserves. Maybe it's about what we need, letting go of the anger so it doesn't poison us. "I'm not angry anymore," Kayla said. "Just sad. Sad that he chose lies over truth. Sad that he died before we could confront him. Sad that we'll never know why he did it." "I think I know why," Hannah said. We all looked at her. She'd been the quietest of all of us, still processing everything. "My mom told me something recently. She said Michael once told her he felt like he wasn't enough, that one life wasn't enough, one family wasn't enough. He wanted to be everything to everyone, and the only way he could do that was to split himself into pieces." "So he was insecure?" Chase scoffed. "That's the explanation?" "I think he was broken," Hannah continued. "Broken in a way that made her hurt everyone who loved him. It doesn't excuse what he did, but maybe it explains it." We sat around that fire until it burned down to embers, 14 people bound together by one man's lies, trying to figure out how to be a family, despite him.
3 years after Dad's funeral, life had settled into a new normal. Mom had moved to Arizona to be closer to her sister, gotten therapy, and started dating again. She'd never fully recovered from Dad's betrayal, but she'd built a new life separate from the wreckage of her marriage. Jennifer had gone back to school and become a certified therapist, specializing in helping people heal from betrayal and deception. She said Dad's lies had destroyed her, but they'd also given her purpose, helping others navigate similar situations. The 6 mothers who'd been involved with Dad had formed an unlikely support group. Catherine, Jennifer, Teresa, Elena, Sarah, and Veronica, Hannah's mother, met quarterly to talk about their experiences, their healing, and their shared trauma. Mom refused to join them. "I was his wife," she said. "They were his affairs. It's not the same." But it was the same, really. They'd all been lied to. They'd all believed they knew Michael Walsh. They'd all been wrong. As for us, 14 kids, we'd become a real family. Not the family Dad had tried to create through compartmentalization and lies, but something messier and more honest. Megan had divorced Mark. Their marriage hadn't survived the stress of the revelation, and was dating someone new who knew her whole story and accepted it. Chase had moved to Portland to be closer to Ethan. They'd become especially close, the brothers Dad had tried to keep separate. Kayla had written a book about the experience, 14, Growing Up in My Father's Web of Lies. It became a bestseller, and she donated the proceeds to a foundation she'd started to help children of narcissistic parents. Bree had graduated college, with all of us chipping in to help, and was working as an engineer. Ethan was engaged to someone wonderful who'd attended our last reunion and fit right in. Olivia had started therapy to deal with her abandonment issues and was finally starting to heal. Sophie had graduated high school and chose to go to college in Seattle specifically to be close to some of us. Marcus had remained the most distant, but he still showed up to reunions and stayed in the group chat. Daniel had become the unofficial family tech support, helping all of us with everything from phone problems to setting up the website. Hannah had embraced her role as the oldest and had become a sort of informal leader, organizing events and keeping everyone connected. And me? I'd started a podcast called Legacy of Lies, where I interviewed other people who'd discovered family secrets that changed everything. It became therapy for me, talking to others who understood the specific pain of learning your family wasn't what you thought. 4 years after Dad's death, we received an unexpected package addressed to all 14 of us. It was from Dad's lawyer. Apparently, Dad had set up a time-release letter to be delivered 4 years after his death. We decided to open it together, gathering via video call since we were spread across the country. Inside was a letter in Dad's handwriting. "To my children, if you're reading this, it means you've all found each other. I knew eventually you would. Secrets this big don't stay buried forever. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. What I did was wrong. Not just wrong, but cruel. I hurt your mothers. I hurt you. I hurt everyone who loved me. You're probably wondering why I did it. I've asked myself that question 10,000 times. The truth is, I don't have a good answer.
I was selfish. I was afraid. I couldn't choose between the lives I'd created, so I chose to live them all at once. Each of you deserved better than a part-time father living a lie. You deserved honesty, presence, commitment. You deserved a father who chose you fully. I'm sorry I couldn't be that person. But I want you to know this. I loved all of you. Every moment I spent with each of you was real to me, even if the context was false. When I taught you to ride a bike, helped with homework, attended your games and recitals, those moments were genuine. My love was real, even if everything else was a lie. I know that probably doesn't help. Love should be honest. Love should be whole, not fractured across multiple lives. I understand that now. Too late. If there's any good that can come from my mistakes, I hope it's that you've found each other, that despite my efforts to keep you all separated, you've become the family I never let you be. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Dad. We sat in silence after someone read the letter aloud. 14 faces on a video call, all processing the same words. Does this change anything? Sophie finally asked. No, Chase said immediately. It's too little, too late. But he admitted he was wrong, Kayla offered. It's words, empty words from a dead man who can't be held accountable, Marcus said. Maybe, Hannah said slowly, it's not about whether it changes anything. It's about acknowledging that he knew what he did was wrong. He lived with that knowledge and did it anyway. That's somehow worse than if he'd been completely oblivious. So what do we do with this? Bree asked. We debated for an hour. Eventually, we decided to keep the letter, but not let it change our understanding of who Dad was. He'd been a narcissist who hurt everyone who loved him. The letter didn't absolve him. It just confirmed he knew exactly what he was doing. 5 years after Dad's death, I stood at Hannah's wedding. All 13 of my half-siblings were there, some in the wedding party, some as guests. We'd become a real functioning family, despite Dad's best efforts to prevent it. During the reception, as I watched all of us laughing together, dancing together, celebrating together, I realized something. Dad had tried to create perfect families through lies and compartmentalization. He'd failed spectacularly. But through his failure, through his death and the painful unraveling of his deceptions, he'd accidentally created something real. 14 people who'd learned to trust each other despite having every reason not to, who chose honesty over comfortable lies, who built genuine relationships out of the wreckage of false ones. We were Dad's legacy, but not in the way he intended. He'd wanted to be remembered as a devoted father to multiple families. Instead, he'd be remembered as a cautionary tale, a man so afraid to choose that he chose everyone and ended up with nothing. But we'd taken his lies and created truth, his deception and created honesty, his fractured family and created wholeness. Late that night, after most guests had left, all 14 of us sat outside under the stars. Someone suggested we go around and say one thing we'd learned from the experience. When it was my turn, I said, I learned that family isn't about biology or honesty or even love. It's about choice. Dad never chose any of us fully, but we chose each other, and that makes us more of a family than he ever created. Everyone agreed. Michael Walsh had lived multiple lives, maintained multiple families, and died keeping his secrets. But in the end, his secrets died with him, while we all survived. 14 children from 8 women, united by one man's lies, had become something he never was, a real family built on truth. Looking back, I realized my father's death wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning of truth, the beginning of healing, the beginning of real relationships with 13 siblings I never knew I had. Was his love real? I think parts of it were, but love built on lies is fundamentally broken, no matter how genuine it feels in the moment. The greatest irony is that Dad tried so hard to keep us all separated, to maintain control through compartmentalization, but his death brought us together in ways he never could have imagined. We became the family he never let us be. 5 years later, we're still figuring it out, still learning how to be siblings, how to trust each other, how to build something real from the foundation of lies. But we're doing it together, and that's what matters. If this story hit you, hit that like button and subscribe to Reddit Family Fallout. We share real stories about family secrets, betrayal, and the complicated process of rebuilding when everything falls apart. Drop a comment below. Could you forgive a parent who lived a double life? Would you want to meet half-siblings you never knew existed? Thanks for watching, and remember, the truth might destroy the family you thought you had, but it might also help you build the family you deserve. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.